It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspective of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA AM 1490, FM 101.3, JAWS Country FM 100.9, and ESPN Radio AM 630 and FM 92.9. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Johnny Wharf on a Saturday morning. Bruce Levengood is the president of Sound Energy and also the current chairman of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. And we are on location, which is kind of cool to be on location. We're in New Philadelphia. So maybe, and you can correct me on that as well, as I make the turn Dover, New Philly. Ooh, they hate when you mix it up too.
Don't you love Twin Cities?
I do all the games, so I know that I know that rivalry. So let's first talk, Bruce, about Sound Energy. I know if folks Google that, they're going to come up with all kinds of science fair projects and that kind of stuff. But tell me about the business Sound Energy.
I don't know when Google was formed, but I probably formed it before that and didn't think of that angle. Yeah. But there have been some angles that I thought about later anyways. But no, we, in 1992, a company my brothers and I had, which was Atwood Resources, had been in a refinancing. And we had a buyer that didn't need my older brother and myself since we were the chairman and president of the company. And so at that point in time, it was okay. We made arrangements to where I went out on my own, and I needed a company name in a real hurry. And something, I wanted it to be something that would portray a solid company, a sound, enterprise going forward. And so I kept thinking, well, Sound Energy, that could mean acoustical type of sound as well. And I struggled with that, but I couldn't come up with anything else. So when the deadline came, I had to have a name, and that was it.
Wow. It's fabulous story of how it came about. Yeah. So Dover, in terms of a location where we're doing this show, and then you're also with the Ohio Oil and Gas Association as a chairman, and that's a Broad Street. We talked to Matthew Hammond not too long ago here on the program. Oh, sure. But here we are in 2022 and basically able to do business with anybody, anywhere, anytime, right? You kind of feel that way here?
I feel that way. Yeah, I do. It's been, I think it's been that way. Of course, a lot of our business and work is outside on the field part of it. And of course, the business side is we have done Zoom meetings, and we've had to roll with the times, if you will. And overall, though, I think it's been somewhat awkward. But we were fortunate in the year this COVID hit. We just had gotten through with our winter meeting, and like a week or two later, the mask mandates, the shutdowns, everything happened.
Sure.
And we were just so thankful that we were able to get our huge meeting done. That's a big event for us. It's our annual meeting, and we do a lot of things there. We have that coming up March 2nd and 3rd of this year again at the Easton in Columbus. And so we look forward to that, and it's been challenging times. We've been able to just roll with the punches and do what we have to do and maintain things and get along, and for the most part, I think we've done pretty well at that.
Yeah, I've been asked to sit on one of the panels at the annual meeting coming up, and it's about the perception of the media as it pertains to the oil and gas. And I know my perception is probably going to be a lot different than somebody else's, but have you found the perception part of your business to be something that's been hard to deal with over the years?
Well, at times it can be challenging, but I think for the most part in Ohio, these are our neighbors and friends, and they know who we are. They know what we do. We have not, run around under the cloak of darkness and try to do things on the sly. Everything's been transparent, above board. We operate under strict rules and laws in Ohio for oil and gas. And we've got a little organization called UJEEP, the Ohio Oil and Gas Education Program, which we fund through a checkoff program. That was started in 1997, I believe. And the reason it was is so that we could be able to get into classrooms, get on the radio, TV, any other types of media, to get out to the public what we do and educate them and, give them a perspective that they're not going to get and certain types of media that wants to only portray the negative side.
Sure.
But then those same people that do that, they'll get in their limousines and on their private jets and fly around somewhere else to tell somebody else how to live. Mm-hmm. They don't really look at or want people to understand that oil and gas just is so pervasive in our lives today. But just about everything we touch has something to do with the petrochemical industry, and it has made everyone's livelihood and the way we live so much easier and better. And it's really extended the lives of people all around the world. So nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. Bruce Levengood is the president of Sound Energy, is the current chairman of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. This is a good segue, what you just mentioned, into finding out a little bit more about Sound Energy and what you do as a business. However, we're out of time for today, so we're going to do it next week. We'll have Bruce Levengood back with us and more on Energy Insights. Saturday mornings, Energy Insights, that's what we do every Saturday. Just try to learn a little bit about the energy, oil and gas industry. And we have the opportunity last week to meet and talk with Bruce Levengood. He's the president of Sound Energy and also the current chairman of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. And I want to talk a little bit more deeply about the business of Sound Energy. So on a given day, what is it? Who's your customer? We'll start there. Who's the customer? And then your employees, on a given day, maybe what they're doing. And I know that's going to be vast in terms of which employee.
Well, it's a great question. And we operate in about 20 of the eastern Ohio counties, which is predominantly where today's oil and gas activity is. And so we have various employees and contractors that we use up and down that part of the state. And I would say that our employees wise, we're not a very large company in terms of number of employees, less than 10, but we employ a tremendous amount of contractors, up to maybe 100 different contractors in all different aspects of the business. And so we operate between 600 and 700 wells. That's a moving target since most of our growth has been in acquisition rather than by drilling. And so we look for those types of opportunities where we can find synergies in the areas where we already are and then expand and grow on those and put those pieces in place and try to be lean and mean operators, if you will, to it's like anything. We can't always look at the customer side. You mentioned customers. We don't set prices. We take what they're paying. And so we are price takers rather than price makers. And so where we can affect our business is on the cost side. So we have to be prudent operators. And sometimes that means we have to shut some wells in, maybe for certain periods of time when economics get really bad. And we do the best we can to keep homeowners and gas. Probably 60% of our wells have a homeowner tap where a landowner is benefiting by gas to their home, and that's a tremendous savings for them. And so we keep those wells alive for those people, and when prices go up, then we all benefit by making the money. That's what we're in business for, is to make money. But most of our customers are people who buy oil. There's not very many that come out to our sites and get the oil. And what's great is they compete for our business. It's really us selling to them. They're our customers, but they also need our product so that they can get enough of the crude oil to run their refineries in the Appalachian basins. For natural gas, we have a few more opportunities to sell gas there, depending on what pipeline or distribution company we put the gas into. And so we will contract with various brokers, if you will, to purchase the gas. So that's kind of how we do it every day.
Yeah, learn something new every day is what we try to do as well, and you're covering that for us on this Saturday. Bruce Levengood, president of Sound Energy and the current chairman of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. I want to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to stay here for now, and maybe on another show we can venture into the association more. But as it relates to the business of Sound Energy, you had mentioned in the previous program that you and your brother were in the business, but it extends into other family as well, correct?
Well, actually, I have 5 brothers, and we were all in the business together at one time. My father and my mother. Also, she was out running rigs with my dad back in the day. And we kind of all got into business around the same time. In the late 70s, The country went through the oil embargo, early 70s. It set up the shortages, the gas lines for those that are old enough to remember those days. And that then segued into our country needing to make policy that would spur our domestic production so we wouldn't be so susceptible to foreign oil. So as today, and as I guess in the Trump administration, we were actually totally independent of foreign sources of crude and other energy. Today, we're still pretty good shape. That has dropped some. Prices have dropped it, and public policy drops those things too. It makes it harder to operate. But notwithstanding that, we have been able to take the opportunities that we have, and we started a family business called Levengood Well Service in the late 70s. I still had brothers and a sister in school. So the younger kids were in school. Us older ones kind of got out on their own. We got to working I had a job in the oil field. Went from a grocery store to the oil field and loved it. Come from a farm, so we knew how to fix things with a Crescent Wrench, baler wire, and WD-40 and that kind of thing. So it fit right in. And we just took it from there. And we did real well in the 80s, late 80s. The policy changed again. Tax rules changed. And so that changed the dynamic of prices and the business model. So, it's been the cycles in this business are up and down, maybe 7 to 10 years.
You make this perfect transition, and I wish we could just keep rolling, but it'll have to wait till next week because of the policies, and we'll maybe touch on the association and how that works next week. And my heart grew a little bit listening to you there too, just because I'm as well in a family business, and my wife just came to work with me, so it'll be interesting to see how I feel about it here. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be good. Bruce Levengood is our guest here on Energy Insights. We'll talk a little bit more with him next week. He is the president of Sound Energy, current chairman of Ohio Oil and Gas Association, and this morning, our guest right here on Energy Insights. Energy Insights on a Saturday morning finds us again on location, Dover, Ohio, the site of Sound Energy business, and the president is Bruce Levengood. He's also the current chairman of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association, and I want to veer into that direction. We had talked on a couple of occasions. You were bringing up, you said something like, and policy changed, so we had to do this, and policy changed, and so we had to do this. So talk a little bit. I know hard work and success usually makes more hard work and success, right? So you get involved in the association. So talk a little bit about your play in the association.
Well, I've been with the association since back probably 1981, I presume is when I joined. That's been many years ago. And wasn't real close with what it was, but wanted to be a part of it because they represented the industry. They had a way of looking at creating good public policy. I probably wouldn't have called it that back in that day, but an atmosphere where you could work in the business and know that you had somebody protecting and looking out for your interests. So they couldn't just come out and shut you down for any reason, those types of things. And so I don't think it was as prevalent back in the 80s. But then it was also social. It was a social aspect too. You get to know your customers. You get to know, of course, I was a contractor once, so we needed customers in that light. Get to know all those people when you get to socialize and make contacts and just you just never know what grows out of it.
So, and a synergy as well then, because this program is made possible on our 5 radio signals by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association, and the synergy that goes with, I guess, the state organization and then the Southeast organization would expand upon those values that you're talking about.
Absolutely. And I know SUGA was, I don't know when it was started, it's been around quite a while, but they had some regional issues that needed to be worked on, more so than just the statewide issues. And so I'm a member of SUGA, and I enjoy the work that they do, and we work together, Ohio Oil and Gas Association, Southeast Ohio Oil and Gas Association. We face many of the very same problems. We have to go to the same legislature and the same ODNR and all that to make sure that we have good policy and rules and operating practices in our state. And so that's part of why we are very much aligned in all those things.
And talk a little bit about not sometimes, there's a lot of resistance to what the industry does in the oil and gas industry, misperceived, I guess, stuff. But talk a little bit about the message that the association at whatever level wants to get out to our listeners, particularly because you got a lot of people trying to get your message out there that aren't doing it the right way. I know that.
Well, there's an old saying that says a lie will be 100 miles down the road before the truth can get out of bed and get on its pants in the morning. And so that's kind of the way we always seem to be operating from these people who have these loud voices, and typically there's not that many behind them. Someone can form a Ohio River Association, Ohio River Valley pollution control thing, and have two people there and money from some foreign country, and go out and start creating rumors and lies. And that's a lot of what it is. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been people in our industry who have done wrong things. And that's another thing that association gets together and does, is to help police our own people, so that we don't let somebody do something crazy out there and foolish that's going to cause all of us a lot of pain, whether it's new rules or monetary damages or whatnot. So we want to operate above board in this state and do everything that we can to make sure that we have a relationship with the communities we operate in, with the people that regulate us, and the people who make the laws and rules, that we're all on the same page and that we're doing things for the state of Ohio and in the state of Ohio above board.
Bruce Levengood is the president of a company, Sound Energy, also the current chairman of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. What would you say, Bruce, to someone that is very intrigued that you can wear a different hat when you walk into this office if you're the chairman of an association or the president of a successful company, but somebody's going to say, my goodness, man, I got my hands full with my own stuff. The last thing I need to do is go help, somebody else, but somebody's got to do it, right?
Somebody does have to do it, and I didn't want to be that guy in that seat. I never saw myself as this guy. But, I think it was Ronald Reagan that once says, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? And so I was asked to sit around the executive committee table probably 10 years ago, and I did not realize how much work that these people who went before me did to make sure that we had operating ability in our state. They probably stopped more bad laws and rules and other things that were going on in our industry, as well as promote good sound technology and practices and bringing people together. That just, it blew my mind is how much stuff went on behind the scenes, that really the rank and file membership don't really always know what kind of fires got put out prior to them beginning because of what happens there. And so I just felt that, someone asked me to be there. I didn't have to stay. It was all voluntary, and they kept. I had an interest, and I would express myself at the meetings, and I care about the industry. I care about the livelihood of it, and my family, and everything. And so, because of that, I was willing to stay on. And then who knew that sooner or later it would be my turn up here, but again, you look around and you say, I'm here to help. They've already invested in me to teach me a lot of this stuff, and so the logical next step was to go ahead and become chairman and see how that goes.
All right, you're a credit to the state and to the industry. We appreciate your time, Bruce Levengood, with us on Energy Insights, and we're going to extend into the business, the family business of Sound Energy next week, so we encourage you to tune in, same place, same time. Energy Insights on a Saturday morning, and if you've been tuning in like the rest of us for Energy Insights, then you know that the Levengoods own the station. Now, no, I'm just kidding. You guys have been on for several weeks, and we appreciate the opportunity to learn about the business of Sound Energy Company Incorporated, and then also Bruce Levengood, who's the president of the company, is the chairman of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. And I think it comes down to, and I think your son Tyler last week said it really good, is you're not really looking to punch a clock every day, right? You're looking to step in and make a difference in one way or the other. And I think that's how we get involved in organizations like UGA, right? It
is, most definitely. When you show an interest in something and you care, I was the chairman of the Producers Committee prior to becoming a part of the Executive Committee, and I was a trustee. So I had some peripheral understanding of how the management of UGA happened. And then people get to know you and they say, well, he knows about this or speaks pretty well or understands certain things. And so that's probably why I was asked to go the next step. But I'm also one of those kind of believe in there's three kinds of people in the world. There's people who make things happen. There's people who watch things that happen, and then there's those who wonder what happened.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to wonder what happened. So I've always been proactive in the sense that because of the policies that get made, because of the decisions that happen at UGA and otherwise that affect me personally, I want to be involved in the making things happen. And so that's part of why I stepped more into UGA. And if you show an interest, there's a place for you to fit there.
And tell me a little bit about how UGA is. I assume they're represented, at the state capitol in terms of a presence and trying to get policy written or whatever the case might be, but also more into the giving of themselves into a community. And again, I think Tyler mentioned about what Sound Energy does for the tax base and the employment and all the things that a business can do. But UGA's tentacles stretch pretty far in that regard as well.
That's true. We are very active in making good government affairs and public policy. We're very engaged at the State House. We want our state representatives to know who we are and have our opinion about those things that are happening over there. And even at times when we need their help to legislatively or otherwise either correct something or help to put something in place. As you know, the shale industry, no one knew about 20 years ago. So that took some effort. And working with the shale operators who the mission statement at UGA is to protect, promote, foster, and advance the common interests of those engaged in all aspects of the Ohio crude oil and natural gas producing industry. So we embrace those folks when they come to town. We don't need them off starting a new group. We want to be together because together we'll be more effective. And so we don't do anybody any harm when we go over there. We may not have the same interest at heart, but we have the respect for each other in all aspects, whether it's the underground injection with disposal wells. We all need each other to make this organization, an organism, move forward. I'm talking about the industry.
And so as it relates, Bruce Levengood, again, our guest, he's the president of Sound Energy. We've had a great opportunity to meet his family. Give me a little insight on working with the young guys in your operation, not just your sons or your daughter, but just the young people that come into the oil and gas industry and what they bring to the table that you and I maybe never learned when we were in school, or because things change so darn much, right?
That's true. And of course, new technology and the advancement of the computer age has really opened up a lot of things that we used to do the old-fashioned way. Now, some things you still can't afford to do the new way, so we still do the old-fashioned way on our old wells. But that's done a lot of good with the young folks that are coming in. We kind of missed at least one generation, maybe two, from the 90s when the industry really took a downturn. There was no opportunities really for younger folks to come into this business. And it was a struggle. And even my sons, they were still in either high school or just getting out of college, and they had careers to think about. And so oil and gas prices weren't the greatest, and who knew? Who knew what would happen? Yeah. For me, this is what I knew and it's what I loved, so I stick with it. And then the opportunities come along, and then they came back into the business or wanted to come into the business. And it's the same with other people. So we need more young people to come into the business to take an interest in it. And I know UJEEP has 70-some career paths that can be chosen to come into the oil and gas business. And some of it is from high technology, behind the scenes work to drillers and people who run the cement crews and fracturing and all those things. So it's important to keep the young people engaged. And there's a lot of good young people with smarts out there. So we want to embrace them.
All right. Bruce Levengood is our guest. I want to thank you for introducing me and sharing your family with me, sharing your business with me, and certainly your insights about the oil and gas industry. It's been a pleasure.
Come back sometime with my daughter, our youngest child, my wife and I, has been a practicing accountant at Timken, and she's moved on to her career path. And I think sooner or later we're going to have her back here to help us.
That's exciting stuff. I can hear it. I can hear it in your voice and see it in your eyes. Again, Bruce Levengood, our guest, Sound Energy Company Incorporated, on location in Dover, Ohio, has been our guest here for several weeks, keeping us up to date, helping us learn new things about the oil and gas industry. Thanks to the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association for making this possible.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on WMOA Local Radio, JAWS Country, and ESPN Radio, as Johnny Wharf brings you your local and inside perspectives going on in the oil and gas industry right here in the Mid-Ohio Valley.